Hey, Curl friends, this is Analise Harris, author of Harriet's Yellow Jacket and founder of Curls on the Block. I'm so excited today, getting back into the live work, sharing information, and just getting connected with folks virtually. And I know the school year is starting. Parents are looking for educational resources still to support their child's development. And I thought, why not talk about the writing process from brainstorming to publishing. And I also am excited to bring in a college colleague and friend, DM Whitaker, who is going to share her experience in the process of writing as an author and some interesting experiences she's had through publishing. And she has multiple books out, and I'm really excited to hear her journey and just chat. So if you're watching, you can add comments and we can bring them up on the screen if you have questions. I know a few people have reached out in the past month and a half or so asking about, tips that I might have, and I'm excited to share my experience. So without further ado, I will bring up DM Whitaker, and we're ready to have a great conversation. Hello.
Hey, Analise, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Okay, Creighton alum in the house. We just Blue Jays. So I am grateful that you're willing to jump on and participate in this live chat because, like I said, people are interested in this writing process, and they're probably not going to be that happy with our answers, but hopefully they're inspired, and that's really the ultimate goal, is that we can share our experiences and give advice. So again, if they have questions, folks can type in to the chat, and I can bring up their questions to the screen, and we'll just be able to go back and forth. But to start, I would love to hear your current titles, like what's out, and we'll start with that.
So I have two new books that I released almost 30 days ago. I'm still in the 30-day phase. And so it's just a lot going on with that. And they are the Potty Monster books. And they are books that they're affirmation books for children that teach them how to potty train with courage. I had a child, one of my oldest son is 4, and he potty trained great at 2.5, but he was so scared of the toilet when it's like, okay, go potty. And he just got really, really scared of that experience of the loudness of the toilet and just being in there by himself. And so it was a lot of me encouraging him and affirming him in that process to get him to go potty by himself. And he was able to do that. And so I wanted to write that book for him, but also for other kids. My youngest son, he'll be 2 in October, and my niece, she'll be 2 early next year. And I want them to have the opportunity to be able to potty train with courage and just be able to see other kids that look like them going through the journey and being successful with it.
Absolutely. So can you tell us your main characters' names? Who are the characters? And
so the unique part about it is that there are no names. Like the main concept of the book is to affirm any child in the book. So it was very conscious in labeling them big girl, big boy. Okay. And so the premise of it is just, I am brave, smart, and strong. I can do this if I try. I'm a big girl. I'm a big boy. So that's the character, and that applies to any child. And I am fostering that sense of family supporting the child. It's not just a mom job to potty train. It's not just a dad's job to potty train. It's a collective unit of you have your mom and your dad or your caregiver affirming you in that process.
Absolutely. So that's exciting, and especially since you have young ones, I'm sure you saw a need for that, right?
Yes, yeah. That's one of the main. That kind of segues into a great tip. Is that when I am, thinking about books that I want to write, and what's, what messages I want to bring across. I was searching and searching for potty training books that had characters that looked like my boys, that looked like me, and I just did not find it. And the one I did find, the illustrations were disgusting. And I just was like, whoa. To the point where my son's like, well, what is that? And then, well, what is that? And it's just like, these are kids, and like these are your biggest critics when you're writing children's books. And so it's important that those illustrations are vivid, and they're warm and they're embracing, and they catch the eye of the reader and the parents who are buying the book. So I did not find what I was looking for, so I created it.
So kind of tip, fill a gap, right?
Yes.
You're seeing and experiencing. I also kind of heard, what is it? Another tip would be good illustrations.
Oh my goodness. Yes.
So I'm going to put that up there too now so people can know. So first, it is really filling a gap. And like, I feel like my tip connected to that was very similar. I was working as a special education teacher and just watched young girls really struggling. Mm-hmm. And that's why I started Curls on the Block. And then Harriet's Yellow Jacket came. Okay, full disclosure, it came during a testing time frame where as a special education teacher, I had to test for like extended time. And so I had students who typically the test is like maybe an hour and a half. It was like a almost 4-hour experience for me for one test. So I was bored, not gonna lie. But not only was I bored, I couldn't really actually write or sit down. So when I'm moving around, I get a lot of ideas. So I was already developing Curls on the Block curriculum. And then I realized I have a story inside that's like, about hair. I had developed characters, like all of it came to me in this week of testing. And so it was specifically though developed to address a gap that I was seeing. Where's the representation, and I'm going to pull up a visual in a second, but it's basically the 2018-2019 result of children's books. And let me see, I will pull it up now, but I'm sure you could. I would love to hear your guess. What percent of books do you think are about Black kids? At least, like based in 2019. If they, at 100%, what would you gather about Black?
I know it's a bad number, so I'm gonna go like 12%.
Okay, well, you're not off now, but yeah, it's just hitting around that. And I'm trying to get this visual up, girl. I should have had that ready. But the reality is, yeah, we're at about 10 to 12% of books depicting Black characters, which is up. It's an increase. So if you could imagine that, it's just wild that it has increased, which means, and that's in the 21st century, my friends, 21st century. I can't find it now. So let me just find children's books. I showed it to some students who are in middle school, and they were shocked by it. Okay, I found it. So there's a report, Diversity in Children's Young Adult Literature, and they had this great visual previously, but you know what? I'm just going to share my screen here. And
it's very scary because you think about, I was a 7th grade reading teacher before I went home and decided to be a stay-at-home mom and author. And I had so many 7th graders who hated reading. And I'm just like, that's not reality. You just haven't found the right book. Exactly. But when the numbers look like this, it's hard to find the right book.
Look at that. I know it. Look, so you said 12%, girl. Look,
Wow.
11.9. That's 2019. And I'm gonna go down main characters. Obviously we're looking at all diversity, so representation, kids with
Right.
disabilities, and hidden disabilities is a big deal too, because
Yeah.
as we see an increase in students, kids being identified on the autism
Yeah.
spectrum, that's not always just easy to see, that they're impacted in their families, and
Right.
a tough conversation sometimes. But even looking at this, animals representing 29%. I mean, that's high.
That is high. That is high. And that's why I wrote an animal book.
Exactly though. And so all right, I'll stop sharing this, and we'll just get back to chatting. But there's another visual, hopefully I can find it in a sec, but filling a gap. So that's our first tip, right? And then
Yes.
good illustrations. I mean, you can't go wrong with the characters, whether they're animals or look like children that are the community
Yeah.
you're addressing. They need to look attractive. And I know we always say, what, don't judge a book by its cover.
No, that doesn't apply in the children's book arena at all.
No,
Or I mean and honestly any book
me either.
arena. It doesn't apply.
It really doesn't. And even if there's not photos, a solid book, we want the font to look appealing. And,
Mhm.
and that's just human nature. I mean, we're going to be looking for that in our reading experience. And so the first tip, fill in a gap, and then the good illustrations. Did you want to shout out your illustrator or anything, or the process of
Yeah,
finding?
I met Lumidala. She is from Canada.
Nice.
And so she wasn't African American, but I gave her pictures, which is very important. So when you're looking for an illustrator, you may not be able to find an African American illustrator to do African American illustrations,
Mm-hmm.
but it's important that you give them examples. So like they got a lot of examples. I don't want you know, I don't want no clip art or Photoshop kind of, characters. Like I want really, really good detail. So I was careful to give her photos of, what I wanted. We talked about skin tone. We went through a lot of different skin tones, just to kind of, hit those key things. But you don't have to spend thousands of dollars on illustrations, but you can. But not everybody has that kind of money, and so understand that there's opportunities for you to find, illustrators that can meet your budget. So you set a
Mm-hmm.
budget and then you reach out to illustrators on freelance sites and find somebody that has your style, that can complete your style of illustrations, and they also can meet your budget and expectations.
You
And I don't
know,
know about you, Annalise, but I've used sites like Fiverr, which I do not recommend for children's book illustrations. I love Upwork because you have the opportunity to set your budget, set your expectations, contract, and things like that. And then people bid on jobs for you. And then you can do milestones as well so that you pay them piece by piece. So I love sites like that. So that's my little 2 cents on illustrations.
look, tell them they need about $10 worth of tips in that. And absolutely, because there's a lot of options, right? There's a lot of
Yeah.
options out there, and it's frustrating that we are struggling finding our Black illustrators. So
Yes.
I'm hopeful that, my tip in that regard, I definitely agree. Looking at Fiverr is like probably not the best, but you said Upwork, because Upwork, you are able to also see a portfolio a little bit
Yes.
more in depth. And I like that bidding component. Absolutely. There's other sites for sure, but you do kind of want someone to be able to kind of have to show you a little something before you come.
Right.
I will share my experience. I've been in Colorado now 10 years. Oh my gosh. So in those 10 years, I've attended a lot of community events, and, I love art actually. And I love, because I really can't draw. That's not my specialty.
Yeah.
I can draw, but it's not going to be people. I mean, I like art, and I can express myself visually, that way, but I'm good. There's so many other talented people. My younger brother, he draws for Curls on the Block all the time. And I'm like, go ahead, bro. But my experience in the community was, finding artists. And so I was able to just walk into a festival. It was the Colorado Black Arts Festival. Yeah. And I saw this artwork. It was actually of Erykah Badu with her head wrap, and it was like amazing. I was like, oh my gosh, that's beautiful. Love it. And later on, I hit her up. The artist is Adri Norris, and I hit her up with this idea because I just connected. I'm kind of bubbly, how I am sometimes. So, if I'm in, that positive space, you're just like looking for great work, and
right.
It just aligned where I approached her at the right time. She had never done a children's book and was working actively on her work, to expand it. And she already had a really good, decent following, to be honest. And I didn't really know. I just look at work. I'm like, man, I want you, or woman, like, wow, I love what you're doing. Let me connect with you. And we developed a friendship that allowed us to, have a good understanding of each other. And to your point, giving photos, she is Black, and has a beautiful history, just like upbringing. She's been in the military, traveled all over the world. So she has seen a lot of different things and cultures. And so she also appreciated me coming to her with this children's book idea about how to embrace this big old pineapple ponytail, our hair, and she really liked it. She rocks curls too. And so she really was down for that experience to do a children's book. She has promised to do another one, and people keep trying to steal her. I just am like, bro, you just find your own. And it's possible. I'm just a little, okay.
Like, yeah, I feel you. I know some authors who don't even put their illustrators' information on their books because of that. So
right. And you know what? Here's my thing. You could never take my relationship from her, with her. And so we started with a conversation about the book and my vision, and I held auditions and photos and wanted models because I wanted to find the little girl who would help Adri, create her in a cartoon, not cartoon really, in an illustration. And because I didn't want cartoon, I was just like, no, I don't really want cartoon for this. I want it to be reminiscent of, like, it looked like a Black girl, and that connection, not like, and there's a purpose for everything. So I didn't want it cartoonified, which I love cartoonified stuff too. But for this, I wanted her to have the features in a particular way, same as you, finding that, that balance of, representation and intentionality. And then, so went from the auditions and model call at a hair expo in Colorado. And from there found the little girl. I was like, you're it, this is it. And we had a photo shoot. It was all day because girl, you know how we are. I'll put together a whole day of photography and put in the other things I need too. So I was like, okay, she's going to be modeling for and posing for the children's book. Everybody else was for the calendars that I had that year. But from there, I was able to give Adri the photos, and Adri did an amazing job. And even because this was her first children's book, she was doing some research as well and was looking for different programs that could
Mhm.
help her like develop her artistry as well.
Yeah,
Having someone committed to that was
that's
really powerful.
commitment.
Yeah. It
That
does look.
is awesome.
I got a question here. Thank you so much. Why did you name the little girl Harriet? Well, for Harry's Yellow Jacket, I had briefly explained I had characters in my head. So I came up with 4 girl names because I was thinking like, I want Curls on the Block. There's a crew, it's a crew of girls. And, in college, everybody had friends. It was like a crew,
Yeah,
and, girlfriends had 4 girls, Babysitters Club, Boxcar
yeah,
everybody has a group and you got to have different personalities. To specifically answer my purpose for Harriet is twofold. Harriet Tubman is obviously a woman who I admire and appreciate her sacrifice and leadership and courage and foresight. And so I definitely didn't want to lose an opportunity to, pay homage essentially to a woman of that stature and to keep her relevant, because oftentimes certain names are so strong people don't always want to bring them in. We had some, when you have a little kid whose name is like, your name is like 30-year-old person.
yeah.
But I wanted to bring her name back up in a way that could be also normalized and have to show that connection. Like, oh, Harriet, oh, like the movie I just saw, or like, oh, Harriet Tubman, who I learned about. Absolutely. And that was my purpose. I did like Harriet. It was either Harriet or Michelle for obvious reasons. Michelle Obama, right? And I was just like, Harriet just had a good, I liked how it flowed. My last name Harris. Okay, I just got to put a little bit of yourself in there.
Right? I love it.
Yeah. So, thank you for that question on there. And yeah, so that was my process for my illustrator. And so let's see, what else did we have? Did you have any other tips? So we went from, I explained like I brainstormed and all this stuff and like came up with these ideas. Same as you saw
filling the gap.
Filling that gap. Now it's time to write it. How hard was that? How was that
the
for
writing
you?
process? The writing process wasn't hard for me at all. So I got a creative writing degree when we went to Creighton. So I have English concentrations in creative writing. So
Girl,
when I graduated from college, I wanted to write children's books, but life happened and I also wanted to teach, and I just was like, well, I just don't have the time to write kids books. Like I just don't. Like I want to, so I have all these stories in my head, but then as life changed and I left the classroom, I left the community, I was doing a lot of social work in the community, and I had the time, and so I was like, let me get back to doing what I love. And I have new stories, I have old stories, I have 2 other books that are already written and illustrated. They just haven't released yet.
You
so
got
I have in my head. I just have to do
it. That's awesome. I had no clue. It's beautiful also that you're able to bring that up and show how even when you come, what you want to do in life, right? You knew that. And you had not a detour, but you had another opportunity. So taking up teaching, but look at how that, do you think that it impacted your writing?
Oh my goodness, most definitely. So my brand and niche, if I can say, is writing functional and social skills books for kids to help them to be their best selves in their homes, in their classrooms, in their communities. So in order for me to be able to do that and do it well, it's coming from experiences as an educator and as a parent. So I have a social skills series that I just released the first book, and The Scary Dinosaur and the Stinky Skunk. And that book was done with my son, who was 3 at the time. And he had this elaborate story that he created because he did not want to take a nap. He didn't want to go to bed. He was just like, I'm not doing it. So let's make up a story, Mom. And we just like popcorn in this story. And I'm like, hold on, this is really good. But the social worker, the educator in me is like, but there's a good lesson that can come out of this story. And that's where I took my experience in the community working with kids and teaching them all these different social skills to help them with truancy, to help them with behaviors and getting unified with their families, was teaching them social skills. And so these books, a part of this series that I'm doing, is an ode to my experiences in the community working with other people's kids.
Wow. That's really powerful and a great way to exemplify a couple of things. So the relationship with your son, I think that's amazing and beautiful and important for folks to hear that, hey, at that bedtime, you're seeing your kids' talents too,
Yes.
being able to pour into that and nourish it instead of like, go to bed, it's past
Right.
time. Because that's, you're tired. You're like, look, bro.
Right, you're tired. Yes. Oh,
I've been working with y'all kids all day.
all day.
But that's so funny too, because that's actually one of the reasons I had a conversation with the mom in Harry's Yellow Jacket, is because I wanted to make sure we see that, a gentle response, because often we don't get to be gentle and gentle is not weak. Gentle is actually strong. Actually, yes. You got to have patience and wisdom and you like you said, finding those lessons for your child. And wow, that's just really cool. I'm so glad we're able to just dig in and start sharing it. And hopefully, again, we're able to inspire folks. So with what was your first book? So you said
my first book, so that's my functional skills series, and that was my brush your teeth book. And that book was definitely inspired by Deuce. I had so many friends, they struggle with their younger kids not wanting to brush their teeth and being scared of the toothbrush, the dentist. And I'm just like, hold on, you guys. Like, they're one. Like, why are we having problems brushing your teeth? Deuce loves to brush his teeth. And he loves music. So I was just creating this song one day, and I recorded a video of him brushing his teeth, and they were like, wait a minute, like, what did you do? Like, what's the trick? And I was like, I just sing the song to him. And I'm like, I don't sing. That's not my that's not my forte. That's not my gift. But I can write a story that shares this song. And so this was my first book that I published with an independent traditional publishing company. And it is a song that teaches kids to brush their teeth and to have fun with it. And it's for that younger group. So it has the ABCs and the 1, 2, 3s in it. And it's the rhyming of it and the catchiness of it that draws children in, just to be able to take care of their dental hygiene, because we struggle with that. We don't go to the dentist. We don't take care of our teeth. We don't, to have that priority when it comes to our dental hygiene. And we see that as kids get older. So I wanted to foster that sense of self-care early on by sharing that in this story.
Yes, look at that. And we had a request, and I was able to pick up your website. Is this still active? HersheyMommyChronicles.com. It's good. And folks can buy your books from that site. Perfect.
Yeah, you can buy from there. Yep. It'll connect you right to it.
Look, and you know what? I have some friends who are also social workers in Detroit and working with young men. So I definitely am going to connect you with her. And some of them are a little older, but I know she deals with like kids going through the foster care system. And like you said, you've seen it all. And so I'm sure a couple of books in a book bag can be inspiring.
Definitely.
Yeah. So with your publishing, that's what people always want to know. They, man, I'm like, look, focus
on a lot of questions.
Look, get that book done. What would you say?
People have tons of questions, and I like to say, that it can be as hard or as easy as you want it to be, honestly, when it comes to publishing. You can go the traditional route, and then when you go that traditional route, you have to understand that you are giving up some creative control. So maybe you want your characters to look a certain way, but the publishing company does not. You're giving away some of your royalty. So not only do you have to split your monies between companies that you maybe do printing with, when you have to pay for printing, but you also have to split that money with the publishing company that you use. And you also have to deal with their timeline. And I I did that with my first book, Brush Your Teeth, Brandon's Song for Healthy Teeth. And I published that in the middle of a pandemic. And that one came out in November, and I had been working on it. It came out November 2020, and I had completed all the illustrations in April 2019.
Wow.
So all the illustrations were done, but because I was working with a publishing company that had other books, and then we slid into a pandemic, it took way longer. And like I said, I have all these stories in my head, and I'm just like, I want to get them out. And I couldn't do that because I was in the process of releasing my first book, and I couldn't just be like, I know I said I had a book coming out, but I got this one right here that I want y'all to have right now. You can't do that. So you have to go through the timelines and all that stuff and the technicalities. And so that experience let me know that, hey, traditional publishing is great for some, but when you're talking timeline and royalties, you have to think like, does that work for you? And for me, I had a lot of stories I want to tell, and I wanted complete control where I can click and see at any given moment how well my book is doing. Do I need to change some things around? Do I need to change some keywords? Do I need to do a cover revamp? Do all these different things? Do I need to make changes? Do I want to do edits? Do I want to do a second edition? And do it when I want to do it, and not go through these different channels and say, okay, this is what I want to do. Can I do it? Do I have permission to do it? How soon can I do it? I really need an ebook, but are you going to charge me more money because I didn't pay for that? It's a lot.
It is a lot.
I personally love the self-publishing process.
Yeah. I use Lulu Publishing, and that was after a suggestion from someone else, and it is expensive. First of all, self-publishing everything can be expensive depending on the route, right? Because depending on the illustrator, I was able to, get a contract with my illustrator. So it was, a particular deal that I was comfortable with and she was comfortable with. And then you have options. The person could get
people.
Look, get the contract signed before any other conversations specifically about the project. But absolutely, that's a tip. Let me make sure. Go ahead. Let me just add that tip. Get the contract and signed. Prior to moving forward, because that's just necessary. And even just moving forward, having a timeline of your own too. So like if you're paying up front, you do want to have, like you said, there's those other sites where you can pay based on milestones, but sometimes, and it's essentially the same thing if you know the illustrator. So I know Adri and I went through milestones too. And so it was like, are you sure you're good with this? You can't change this one now. So now you're here. Right. Here's the colors. All right. Here's the scenes. Here's it blended. Here's the cover page. And, so all of those were milestones for sure. And, she was just great with the process. Both of us were. I was like, girl, I don't know what I'm doing. That's kind of the biggest tip people need to know. If I don't always know until I do, right? Until you start the process, you'll feel it. And sometimes you might have an idea that you're like, yes, I want to go this way. And if you do traditional, like you said, it might take you another route. And self-publishing could take you a little longer to get to whatever route you want. And Lulu Publishing is, self-published, but you pay for their platform to edit. They do charge for prints on demand, basically, and they charge for there was a couple of, just in general. I would say my experience with the book was no less than $5,000. just with the illustrator and the self-publishing fees. Lulu handled the ISBN. I have my Library of Congress, letter, your girl. I'm like, oh, can't get rid of me now.
Yep.
I'm here. But
forever.
exactly. You can Google, I guess, Google me, like, but I was glad that I didn't have to deal with that, because that paperwork, I come from the special education world and I despise paperwork now. And I'm like, oh my gosh, please somebody else handle this. And for me, it was worth it. They were very nice throughout the process, actually. And then, can I tell you my story, girl?
Yes, tell us.
I sat on my book for 2 years.
After it was done?
It was done. All I had to do literally was tell Lulu Publishing that it was done. Literally a click.
Why?
And this is the tip that I'm gonna give. It is, well, it's my quote now. The world deserves the story inside you, right? And so for me, I was apprehensive. When you know about musical artists and stuff, and when you're in a creative space, you can be very sensitive about your work.
Yes.
Sensitive about my art because it's a piece of you. And so if what you create is rejected, oh my goodness, it is really hard to separate that from who you're being, especially Harriet Yellow Jacket. That came from the heart. I'm like, you don't like my heart,
Yeah, I feel that.
So, I sat on it, and I think not feeling deserving, I had actually won a grant that helped me pay for the publishing fees. And I had incorporated that in my pitch for Curls on the Block. And I was like, this book, I know I'm going to use as to accompany, the programming. And I let the programming expand, and I just sat on the book, and I was just so nervous. But I finally got my copy in my hands, on my first copy. And I had a good friend actually at the time. She was with me. And when I got it, 'cause I was like, oh my gosh, this is my book. Oh my gosh, it's my book, my book. And she helped me. She recorded the reaction. I was like, and I actually started crying because, when you finally finish that process, it is amazing. But my tip essentially during this process really is, do it. Because the world deserves the story inside you. It really does. And even if it, you were hoping it's your best work, but it might be. Some people's best work is their first one, but a lot of us get better. So, Harry's Yellow Jacket, I've been hearing it's hitting. So, hey, I'm like, hey, just like you got the, it's hitting, it's doing what it's supposed to do. We aced the assignment. Right. However, people who are scared, like I was for 2 years, girl, 2 years I sat on that. And so it got published 2019, and I still didn't know what to do with it. So I wanted to ask you, like a question that, it's about marketing now. Like, okay, so we've talked about your process for writing, like, fill in the gap, just put it out there, get it out there. And now it's like, oh, how do you get more
to market? Oh my goodness. It's the hardest part.
Yeah.
It really is. And I tell clients that I work with, that I do book consulting with and coaching with, and I tell them, your book should never be a surprise, ever. We're not Beyonce, okay? We can't just drop books.
No, because she had a whole career that wasn't just dropping stuff.
Right. So marketing starts before the book is even done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you want to, curate that audience so that they are on the journey with you. They're walking along with you. They're checking out illustrations, that you're showing them the line art. You're showing them the inspiration. You're showing them as this, the colors getting filled in. You're showing them as you get your first proof, to say it's almost here. The purpose of it, the audience that it touches, like, it should never be a surprise. And so marketing starts at the beginning, not when you're ready to press the button. Yeah. And I've learned that. Like, I've gone through a lot of coaching in the last year with the self-publishing process, because I love the process of self-publishing. I self-published with Ingram Sparks for my hardcovers and KDP Amazon for my paperbacks. And I love the process, but I want to make sure that I'm doing it right. And so I have done a lot of different trainings and classes, and I have a coach and things like that that have helped me to do it the right way.
Yeah.
And in doing that, one of the the things that is always on the table to talk about is marketing. And so you want to know what your niche is. Like, some people are one and done books. They write a book and that's just it. They had a story on their heart and they just wanted to get it out there and they're done. But then there's other people who are entrepreneurs, and this is what they want to do. Like, they want to continue to push out books. So what is your niche? Who is your audience? Who is your avatar? Who are you trying to connect your books to? And you need to be thinking about that before that book is submitted and sent off to be sold to the world, because that's who you want to start marketing to. And for me, my most recent books, the Potty Monster books, those are for parents and daycare providers. And so when I did my launch party, like, I reached out to daycare owners, like, hey, I have a potty training consultant who's going to be at my launch party. I would love for you to come and get some tips on how you can potty train your clients in your daycare facilities or your young kids. And so that was my niche. That was my audience. And so that's who I focused on sharing my journey with. So yeah.
Look, I'm just dropping the gems.
I mean, you use marketing in social media.
Yeah.
You reach out to podcasters who are in your niche that would be great to share your book with. You find influencers on social media who you can send your book to that can share. There's so many different ways you can market your book, but it's also important just to make sure you just have that visibility on social media. You don't have to be on every platform, but pick like one or two platforms that you like, and go hard. Get some graphics together. I tell people all the time, when you're doing these illustrations, make sure your illustrations can be used for marketing purposes. So that you can just attach those to flyers and things like that.
Yeah. And so I definitely agree. I would say the easiest to start is Facebook. Just start the page, because if people can't tag you, it's not going to get shared anymore. I mean, people text and yes, we get a bunch of emails now and we don't even read them. And so it is kind of hard. If you're not taggable, you're not searchable.
Yes.
That's it, to be honest. And unless you have a website, you should honestly, like, the top 3 things: have a basic landing page. Those are free now. You can just get it, and just in the first step, you can do a Google website. Everybody got a Gmail. Yes. You can actually make your website on Gmail, on Google. So just that process. I do have a question though. I mentioned my brother has done artwork for Curls on the Block at the very beginning. However, even he was apprehensive about sharing his work. Now, we are in the age of people stealing stuff even more. And, we didn't make copyright up, other folks made that up, but they be the main ones stealing our stuff. So anyway, that's my social degree talking. Sorry.
It's so real, though. It's so real, yeah.
But what would be a tip for you that you might have for folks who might be apprehensive to share their idea before it's even, they don't have anything documented? Because you're like, this shouldn't be a surprise, but how would you suggest they protect their brand or book?
So, definitely. During the pre-marketing, pre-launch stage, it's easy to watermark anything. There's apps you can do that. So make sure you just drop a watermark on there. Do angles, don't do full spreads when you're sharing, images. But even, when you talk about copywriting, you have 5 years to copyright your work. 5 years. But like you said, your brother, like, he's, apprehensive to share his works because it can be stolen. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't cost that much to copyright, you guys. I want to say maybe $65 to $85, and it takes anywhere between 4 to 12 weeks. You can copyright your story. Okay, so get that story copywritten. And if you have your illustrations and you have the time to wait, copyright, and you have ownership of your illustrations because you do work for hire contracts and not royalties with your illustrators. That's another
Right.
tip. Work for hire. um, you own those illustrations, so copyright those stories and those illustrations, so that if in something happens, you have the ability to go and press charges and get your coin. So
Yes.
yes, you have 5 years, but copyright now, like make that a priority when you're getting your ISBNs, when you're doing your library congress, you're also copywriting.
Yeah. Look at that. See, it just comes out naturally, your whole experience, and you just are sharing it so easily in a time where a lot of folks are not. There's some folks sharing information, absolutely, and then some of us
Right.
are coveting it and not willing to share for whatever reason. Maybe they're apprehensive, they don't feel like they're an expert on it, or perhaps they just don't want other people to copy. I know sometimes it is hard, even for me. It's like I had experiences where I'm like, man, I literally just posted about that, but at the end of the day, what is meant for you is meant for you, and let it fuel you with positivity and energy to get yours done. And one of the things that I can say, just like when I sat on my book, I just look back like, girl, you was tripping, but I wasn't in the mental space to do the work. To be honest, it takes a lot of energy.
It does.
And it's really good to have a plan of action. Like, especially with social media, you can actually feel really good about, oh, you know what? I'm going to start posting in August, or I'm going to share this tip. I'm going to put this down too. I'm getting ready for the holidays right now. So what is my plan, and how many books do I want to have already on deck, so I can't just be shipping it out, because people I know are going to want to have holiday books for Black kids. Kwanzaa, we're hopefully still celebrating.
Yes.
We were last year. Hopefully people still there, but you should be getting ready for that. And so looking at major holidays, looking at how the year flows, maybe Valentine's Day, maybe your topics are coming up, or
I have my book with brush your teeth, like February is Children's Dental Health Month.
Exactly.
Then there's Dentist Appreciation Month. Our friend Alvin, he read my book during February for Children's Dental Health Month for their his jobs website. And it's just making those connections and knowing those dates and say, oh, this book fits this holiday, or it fits this, this cause, and taking advantage of that.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you knew where I was going with it too. Yes, exactly. Look at those months. What is some celebrating? Or create your own. Be like, hey, we're celebrating now. And even being smart. Okay, social media tip. Tagging folks who might be connected to it as well. It's like, oh yeah, or in a way that is not just tagging them just to tag them to see your product or whatever, but say, hey, these are the top 5 dentists in your area, or in DC or LA or wherever, and so it's definitely a strategy too.
Yeah, shoot your shot. Like, you just never know. You never know.
Yeah, absolutely. So but anyways, this has been amazing, and I know we're kind of wrapping up on time. I think I had the one thing that I just wanted to make sure to add is a tip is really making sure, thinking of that message that you want to share. So it's yes, you have a story inside, but being intentional about what message do you want folks to be able to take away from your book. And sometimes you just have a goofy book, fine, Wacky Wednesday.
And that's okay.
Exactly. Right. And some people have coloring books or activity books, and it is good. We are only 12%. We're at what I showed you, 11.9% of children's books. So we still have a ways to go. And not only that, just that percent, a lot of us are self-publishing. So, we're out there, but really also connecting with other authors and having events where we're celebrating. I was very grateful for an opportunity to do a reading at a cafe, that black female owned cafe in Denver, Whittier Cafe. Shout out to Whittier Cafe. And it was really rewarding to be amongst other authors and Black authors, because we all understood the struggle. And everybody wanted to support, this effort of community at the time, and people were buying 3 to 5 books. And I was like, oh, you know what, you bought 5 books, just it's less money, you buy a book, help me. Yes, I do not want to take, so that type of strategy. So even if you don't write books, maybe you want to just create a platform where you can uplift other authors and Black authors. That's a need, because we're looking for chances to sell our books and share our
Yes, yes. And that's something that I try to make sure that I share with people all the time is support indie authors, support independent authors, because we have the best stories and we need we need a return on our investment. And our drive and our compassion is so much greater because these are our babies and we're doing all the work. But we're coming from a pure heart for the most part, because we have stories and we want to share them, and we don't want anyone to change those stories. We don't want anyone to try to make them anything than what we designed them and believe them to be. So support indie authors, whether that is knowing what someone's book is about and you're in a room that they're not in and you're sharing about their book. You meet somebody that's a teacher or a community, a person in the community that runs a program. Tell them about an indie author. Tell them about books. Kids need books, and we are always willing and open to come and do authories and share the experience with kids. And my Scary Dinosaur and Stinky Skunk series that I wrote with my son is a social emotional learning book, and I have lesson plans that goes with those books. So when I go to schools, I send lesson plans to the teachers ahead of time. It's a full experience. It's not just a whole big publishing house, here's my book, buy it kind of ordeal. Right. Like, you're getting the full package, the full experience. And that's what's so beautiful about supporting indie authors.
Okay, but we can get to that level too. That's what we're trying to get to, though, too.
We can get to that level. We will. And we do.
Yeah, absolutely. But your point is that there's a certain amount of intentionality with independent, self-published and authors, Black authors. We are looking to fill gaps, or we're looking to express ourselves where we haven't been able to, right? And it's a space when you're writing and creating in that space, you're going to inspire folks with whatever story you have, right? And I really appreciate that you have like the lesson plans, and because that just does step it up. For me, I just made sure to have a coloring book, and then I also have it connected with Curls on the Block. So essentially it's exactly what you're saying.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yes. It's like, hey, we're not done here. Once we have this,
it's a whole package. It's a whole experience.
Yep. So anything that you would like to leave us with, like, we go to your website, I'm going to put it back up, grab your books, and anything else that you want to share with us, like upcoming events or a new book dropping, or just focus on the ones you shared?
I'm still, in the launching phase with the Potty Monster books. They have sticker charts and diplomas and bathroom cards to go along with them. So that it's a full experience. So feel free to message me. I will drop the link to my online bookstore where you can purchase books in bulk and get discounts. But also, if you want to do the self-publishing route, feel free to reach out to me for book coaching and consulting. I'm available as well. And I pride myself in saying, we'll get you published on your time and your dime, and you'll do it with integrity. So I'm just thankful for the opportunity. And I want more people to be published and share their stories, because it's about leaving a legacy and creating generational wealth.
Amen. Look, I love that. And, I can't believe it took so long. I was like, she's been writing books too. So we
yes, I want to do this conference. I just heard about the Conference of Librarians of Color, and I have a connect with one of the librarians that's really into that conference. So I am looking forward to it when the next one comes around next year.
All right. So we're going to be seeing you with the Potty Monster series as well. And you know what? I see for you a whole animated series. Like, I'm going to just put it out there, girl. So just
I receive it. I
ready.
received.
Be ready, because when we say it, it's gonna happen. So I'm really excited, and maybe they'll meet the Curls on the Block crew. So we definitely love to
Yes.
connect.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I would love to. I would love to come.
All right. Well, you know what, everybody, I appreciate those who have jumped in, and hopefully you got a few gems. And thank you, DM Whitaker, for sharing your information, your story, and those gems, man, those tips. Hopefully people can take what they need. And, I'll be posting this. It'll be on YouTube for Curls on the Block, and I'll post it on our Harry's Yellow Jacket Instagram and Facebook page. So as I usually say, stay curly, everybody, and have a good evening.